Hello again with the second lecture of our course, a complete blockchain technology series. In this lecture, we will cover that how blockchain works. Since you know that blockchain is a distributed ledger on a decentralized network. The distributed ledger, as you know, which is a detail of transactions. So the ledger is distributed among all the nodes, so it is a very secure network. And in the previous lecture we have shown you the architecture or the structure of the block and how they are interconnected. So in this lecture we will cover that how blockchain works. So how blockchain works, look at this framework. The first stage is of authentication. The user is authenticated. How the user is authenticated and what does authentication mean? Each user or each node within the blockchain network has two keys. One is the private key and the other is the public key. So these two keys are used to authenticate the user. We can say it as a cryptographic key. So the cryptographic key authenticate the user and identify the user and give him access to his wallet. So there are two keys. One is the private key and other is the public key. The public key is the key which is known to all the users within the network, while the private key is the key which is only known to the node. No other node knows the private key of a node or of a user. So at first the node is authenticated and he is being given access to his wallet. So after the authentication process is completed, a block is created that represents the transaction, and this block is sent to every node which is participating within this network. So this block is sent to each and every node. Node validate the transaction and then the node receive a proof of work which is known as the cryptocurrency, or then the block is added to the existing blockchain. So the first is the authentication, then the block is which represent the transaction. It is created, it is sent to all the node that participates within the network. After the validation process, the transaction is added to the blockchain, and this update is distributed across all the node within the network, and through this process the transaction is completed. This is another block diagram which explains that how blockchain works. If a user want to make a transaction, so he will have to generate a request, and that requested transaction is broadcasted to a peer-to-peer network which is directly connected to the user system, and through this direct link, which is a peer-to-peer link, at one side we have the user and at another side we have the node. So the user transmit or broadcast a request for the transaction, and within the node the authentication process get initiated. And through some cipher technology, through public and private key, the user is authenticated and he is validated that whether he is a legitimate user or he is some fake user. So his identity is authenticated. So after authentication process is complete, the user can access his wallet and then he can make the transaction. After the verification process is complete, a block is generated and that block contains the transaction detail, and that block is added to other blocks. After it has been verified that the data is legitimate, it is authenticated, and it is a valid data, this transaction is combined with the other blocks. The new block is added to the existing blockchain through some procedure which will be explained later, and through this process the transaction is completed.